We know that in this condition, COPD, you need to get air in and out of your lungs. And to get air in and out of your lungs, you need to get air down the roads, the air passages, down into the housing estates, which are the lungs themselves. So if you think of it as a road, then I think COPD is a bit like having roadworks, because what you've got is blockages on the air tubes. And when you have roadworks, besides a lot of frustration, you end up with traffic jams, because the cars can't get through the roads as easily. If you think of air moving in and out of your lungs, it's like cars moving in and out of the city every day. And if you've got roadworks, the cars build up. If you've got blocked air tubes, the air builds up, so you can't get it out quick enough. So it kind of gets trapped inside your lungs. So a lot of people who have COPD feel like as though they've got air trapped in the lungs. They feel full, they can't get air in. And that's kind of like having a congested set of roads with the cars all backed up behind. Now, one of the reasons why that's important is because I'm sure you'll all understand the best way to deal with the traffic jam is to let everybody go slowly in their own time. If you start honking your horn and accelerating up behind the guy behind you and then having to pull back, you're not going to make any progress. If you're having problems with breathing, if you're congested, slow it down. Patience. That's what it's like having a breathlessness attack. You get very congested. Now, the other part to having COPD is that whatever caused the COPD has led to the airways being damaged. The damage is kind of like having potholes, which is why we have to put, why the airways are narrowed, because, you know, obviously the cars can't drive over those. Potholes fill with water, because when you have pockets of damage, those pockets fill up with fluid. And that's what mucus is, because that's something that has to fill those airways. Now, what happens when the body feels mucus building up? It causes you to want to cough. So those are the symptoms: blocked airways, damaged airways, and the blockage causes the air to get backtrapped, trapped, like a traffic jam. And then the damaged airways lead to standing mucus, which can get infected. And that's why people make a lot of phlegm, because the tubes are damaged. And it's just, we normally make phlegm all the time. Every person in this room, healthy or unhealthy, makes phlegm. But if you've got potholes, the phlegm sticks in it. Most times, COPD is caused by the damage of cigarettes. And everybody who smokes, it's a huge challenge to stop smoking. It's an addiction. It's a very pleasurable thing on the one hand to do, but at the same time it's a damage. And when you start off when you're young, either you don't know that it's going to cause problems, or that's tomorrow's problem. Today it's a pleasant thing to do. And then the years go by and you're kind of stuck smoking, and it's very hard to come off. But I would say to anybody who is still smoking or struggling with smoking, it's worthwhile whatever stage in the condition you are, because one of the things that cigarettes do every time you smoke is it makes that damage get a little bit worse, and in particular it makes the mucus come. So if you stop smoking, you'll get less mucus and you stop the condition getting worse. Doesn't mean it'll necessarily recover, but it stops the mucus coming. So it's always worth thinking about smoking for those of you who know people who are still smoking, or if you're smoking. If you fail to prepare, then you can prepare to fail. If you don't do something about having COPD in a very active way, then things won't go well. The biggest factor that determines how well somebody does in COPD is how much exercise they do. So it's a battle when you're breathless to exercise. Anybody who's done pulmonary rehab will know that that makes people feel so much better. And they last so much longer, and they enjoy themselves so much more than taking a few inhalers or taking a few tablets. And that's why I'm saying if you've failed to prepare, then you can prepare to fail. Because the responsibility is on all of you. No matter how bad you feel, no matter how damaged the lungs, if you want to stay well, which is not be breathless, you have to make yourself breathless sometimes. Because if you sit there, your world just gets smaller and smaller, and you shrink and your muscles get weak. And also it means you don't get out, you don't get to meet people, you don't get to enjoy life. This challenge of exercising is the most important part. So the less you do, the less you can do. Remember that. The opposite to that, the more you do, the more you can do. So if a damaged airway is a pothole, you know what happens to potholes after a period of time. The standing water gets infected, it gets dirty. And that's, in other words, an infection. If you get infection, I think that the most important thing to do is to have a plan, because infections come when you have COPD. They come a lot of the times. And for some people, and for others, they go by for years without having infections. But it's good to have a plan, because pretending it's not happening or hoping it's not happening isn't much of a plan. Do something and know what to do. I can't tell you what your plan is, because everybody's is a bit different. But you have to have a plan, and a plan B. 100% of people who have ingrowing toenails will die. Or 100% of people who go to primary school will die, because inevitably we all die, and we all have to die of something. So the question is, what happens in COPD? And the answer is actually very good. More than the vast majority of people, 10 years after they're diagnosed, are still going strong. Now, I put 10 years out because that's the Beaumont Hospital experience since we've been collecting data for the last 10 years. It may be longer. It probably is. Most people who have COPD die of something else. Sometimes on the television you hear about these things, about great breakthroughs, and people are we're going to save 1,000 lives or 100 million lives. It's nonsense. You can't save lives, because we all have to die. It's a question of what and when. And I think the important thing in COPD is the two messages there. If you are proactive, do something about it, then you're going to stay very well and not necessarily by any means succumb to the condition. The condition is caused because you've got roadworks in the airways. You've got roadworks in your lungs. There's potholes that cause mucus that can get infected. It's important to exercise, stay fit, because the more you do, the more you can do, and have a plan if you get sick. The best way to cope with and manage COPD is to stay in touch with people, to stay active and enjoy life, and to push yourself. Move. The more you move, the better you'll be.